Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Faithful Families webinar series. I am Julia Yao, the Program Specialist for Faithful Families. On behalf of our team, I just want to thank you all for joining us today for this conversation on effective strategies for engaging and supporting faith partners for your health promotion work. So we're really excited to have one of our wonderful national partners today to share their organization's challenges and successes in engaging and supporting faith communities. Some of the challenges that our North Carolina facilitators and national partners have shared with us have been around development of strong partnerships with faith-based organizations, as well as continuing to support communities to champion those long-term sustainable health programs. So we thought it would be really helpful for our presenter today to share some of the resources and strategies that his organization has developed to address some of these challenges, and who begin with that initial identification of faith partners to then establishing a strong partnership before actually engaging the congregation in your health programs. And then we'll also touch upon some of the strategies that can help sustain partnerships in faith-based settings, particularly around building capacity of lay leaders and faith leaders to champion for those long-term health efforts. At the end of the webinar, we'll have time for questions, so please feel free to type your questions into the question box on your screen, and I'll pass those questions on to our presenter, and we'll try our best to get to everyone's questions at the end. So presenter for today is Reverend James M. Kenady, who has been and continues to be an invaluable partner and supporter for faithful families and faith-based organizations. Reverend Kenady is a faith-based program coordinator for the Chicago Partnership for Health Promotion at the University of Illinois, Chicago. He has worked in public health for over 15 years and has been actively involved in leading community efforts in various capacities. In his current role, he collaborates with faith leaders to provide health and wellness resources through nutrition education, physical activity programming, and developing and implementing policy environmental change strategies. He also currently serves as the board of directors for the Men Foundation, is an affiliate member of the African American Collaborative Obesity Research Network, and is a member of the White House Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships Stakeholders Task Force. So that is just a snapshot of extensive work that Reverend Kenady has done to support and engage communities. And we are just really grateful to have him lead this conversation today. So let me turn it over to Reverend Kenady.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be with you today. I want to thank Faithful Families for hosting our time together and allowing me an opportunity to share with you today. Just one point of clarity, I do not currently serve on the White House Task Force for Faith and Community Partnerships. I did that under the Obama administration. That was not afforded. That invitation was not afforded to me under the current administration. But it was a great honor to have that opportunity, and I'm glad to be here with you today. Our team has worked hard to prepare a presentation for you that highlights some of our strategies we use here in Chicago to collaborate with faith partners. We know that what works in Chicago may not work everywhere, but we trust that what we share with you today will be helpful and support your efforts to build and sustain partnerships for health promotion. Now, I know I'm a preacher, and preachers have a reputation of going over time, but I'm pretty sure I can get through this presentation in about 3 hours. No, I'm joking. I will get us out of here on time today. So today, let me see here. I'm trying to go to the next slide here, and my technology is not working. There we go. Today, I will discuss a few things about our faith initiative here in Chicago. And for most of our time together, I will focus on how we build effective partnerships with faith communities. I would also share strategies we use in Chicago to sustain partnerships, and we will review key points before entertaining your questions. So let's start with the big question that everybody, I'm sure, has. who we are. We are the Healthy Eating Active Lifestyle Heal Faith Initiative. The Heal Faith Initiative is based in Chicago and provides health and wellness resources and trainings to faith-based partners and institutions. These resources support efforts for health promotion and help to create healthier environments for families, congregations, and communities. This initiative is a program of the Chicago Partnership for Health Promotion, CPHP, and the Office of Community Engagement and Neighborhood Partnerships, Health Partnerships, Ocean HP, here at the University of Illinois at Chicago. Our team has worked together, and it's comprised of about 5 health professionals. Together, we've worked to establish a network of over 150 faith and health leaders from faith institutions here in Chicago. We've trained about 30 lay leaders in 10 faith institutions to help co-facilitate faithful family health classes and implement institutional changes. We've implemented environmental change strategies in 10 faith institutions. We've developed a support group with faith leaders, health leaders, and we've participated in multiple local events, health fairs, and health promotional events that target faith communities. So let's focus on the meat and potatoes of our presentation today, which is building partnerships. I will discuss 3 areas of focus with you today. That is identifying, establishing, engaging faith partners. Let's start with identifying partnerships. One of the questions I'm frequently asked is, how do I identify partners? A good place to start is getting a list of faith institutions from your city or town hall. Most cities require their faith institutions to have some kind of license to operate. You should be able to get a comprehensive list from your city in terms of who the faith organizations are in your area. You can also correspond with community stakeholders that have worked with faith leaders in your area. That might be a good idea. They may have already have a list of clergy that are active and some helpful recommendations and advice relative to working with your faith community. Faith leaders are also a part of our communities, and many of them are active and involved in community happenings already. It's a good idea to participate or attend faith events, even if they're not focused on health promotion. This will give you a good opportunity to learn about what's important to them, and we'll discuss this a little bit more later. Utilizing your relationships with existing faith partners is a good idea as well. If you are already working with 1 or 2 faith leaders know other faith leaders, they may be able to offer referrals. And if all else fails, Google. You'll be surprised what you can find using technology and just sitting in front of your desk and using a good old Google search engine to find out what's going on in your community and who are some of the influencers in your city. So let's focus on establishing partnerships. We want to start by talking about establishing partnerships on what I call a macro level. It is a good place to start. What does establishing a partnership on a macro level mean? For us, it is attending major events that bring together faith leaders from across the city or town. In Chicago, we have several events. Even our mayor has an annual faith breakfast that ministers go to from all over the city. We like to be at those breakfasts when we can. We're not able to get on the agenda most of the time, but it gives us an opportunity to learn more about who the influences are in our faith community and an opportunity to identify potential partnerships. We also have an opportunity to learn about the priorities that faith communities have and what's important to them, even if it's not health focused or health related. Faith communities are asset-based communities, and it's important to understand the resources that they have that can be leveraged for health promotion. And it affords us an opportunity to actually be a part of their community. In most cases, being a part of a faith community does not require you to be a person of faith, but respecting their faith is almost always necessary. We don't stay on the macro level. We then move to what we call a micro level. Here in Chicago, we focus on 22 SNAP-Ed eligible communities to implement resources and do health promotion. All of these communities have faith institutions, and most of them have faith coalitions or gatherings or events that are community-based. It is easier for us to access faith leaders on a micro level and get on the agendas to present at local faith events. Setting up meetings with potential partners is also easier because you get a chance to interact with them on a more personal level. Don't forget, following up with faith leaders that you meet at these events is a vital part of establishing partnerships. After you meet with them and you establish your contacts, you are ready to meet with them in person. When you're meeting with these faith leaders, you want to be sure to spend time learning about their institutional assets and health programs. Relationships are always stronger when people feel like you are concerned about their issues and their priorities. In Chicago, we use a partnership assessment form as a tool to collect information and identify areas of potential collaboration. These tools help us identify our common goals and ways to support the vision of their health ministries and the things that they want to do in their congregations. Here are examples of the tools we use when meeting with faith leaders. You will see our partnership assessment form on the screen that allows us to learn and have a conversation with faith leaders and document what we've learned. The second form is a checklist of things we look for to determine whether we can partner with them and their faith institutions. If they do not meet our criteria for partnership, we put them in what we call our faith network and share resources with them when possible. Let's continue talking about engaging partners. When engaging partners, you want to start discussing the resources that you've learned about and the resources that you and your organization have for faith institutions. It is at this point that you want to begin to talk about your agenda and how you would like to partner with this faith institution. You should have already thought about the common goals you have with them and be prepared to discuss collaborative opportunities for health promotion. Here are some of the promotional materials that we use to highlight resources that we have for faith institutions in Chicago. Of course, you see the Faithful Family one-pager included in our promotional materials. Make sure your materials are professional and comprehensive for faith partners, not public health professionals. Very few pastors understand what social ecological models are and how they influence public policies. Make sure you speak their language and not ours. Let's continue talking about engaging partners. In Chicago, we work with faith leaders to establish partnership agreements. These agreements allow us to clearly define roles and responsibilities of all parties involved. We also know that when people are a part of the planning process, they are more invested in implementing the plan. Our team leads this process and drafts the actual agreement. All parties involved review and sign the agreement, and the work begins. Here are examples of a partnership agreement that we use here in Chicago. And the document on the left of the screen is simply a checklist of the resources that we offer. We use this document to select the resources that we will provide to the faith institution and then create the partnership agreement where you see all parties will sign and date. And again, this allows the work to begin in a very synergistical way. I want to also talk to you about engaging participants. When engaging participants, we don't want to assume that everyone will be excited about the resources that you have to offer. We have experienced negative responses to health promotion from participants, and we have learned that it's a good idea to first get them motivated about health promotion before assuming that they will respond to the resources we have. So we work with faith and health leaders to develop strategies and events that aim to motivate participants in faith institutions about upcoming health promotions. These efforts have increased our work and our partnerships and strengthened our partnerships and increased their excitement for the work that we will be doing in their faith institutions. Here is an example of an event that we work with faith and health leaders to plan in faith institutions. This event is called the I Shall Live Health Sunday. We work with the leadership of the church to plan an event that includes health messaging, that the pastor or clergy speaks a sermon about health. In this particular event, I was the keynote speaker and had a chance to speak about health in a major Sunday service. After the service, we served healthy snacks, and our team got a chance to interact with congregants. During this interaction, we got a chance to learn about their thoughts, engage them, answer their questions. And we also got a chance to see how many people were motivated about the idea of health promotion in their church, and if there were some negative attitudes or dispositions towards what we were going to do, we had an opportunity to address that. Let's talk a little bit about engaging participants specifically in Faithful Family health classes. When we first started doing health classes, we just simply put flyers in the church, had them announce the classes, and people attended when they chose. Our goal was to have a consistent group of folks turning out to these classes because the way the curriculum is designed is that each class has a specific skill builder and focus that we want them to learn about. So what we did is we decided to register people for classes. This has proven effective. Now, instead of people just hearing about the Faithful Family health classes that will take place in their church, they actually attend an orientation where we give out a class schedule and go over our expectations of class participants. This has increased our participation and the consistency in participation drastically. We also let them know that at the end of the class, they will receive a certificate and be acknowledged for their attendance. This also is an incentive and very motivating for class participants. On the screen, you will see the registration tools that we use for our orientation. One, on the left side of the screen is our one-pager that we give to participants after they register for class. They get to take this home, and it reminds them of the class that they registered for, as well as we thank them for registering. People feel special and they feel like they're really a part of something that is meaningful. The other form we use to capture general information from participants, like their email address, what area of the city they live in, do they have food allergies or intolerances, and do they have any physical activity limitations, so that we can be aware of who our participants are and email them any changes in that may incur in upcoming classes. This is on the screen our example of a certificate that we gave to a local church that completed the health classes. And then the pictures are of participants who graduated our classes and received certificates at the end. As you can see on the pictures, folks are smiling, clapping, happy, and interactive. People respond really well to being acknowledged and celebrated for their participation. This makes our journey together very meaningful, and it is something that we really feel is useful. We actually do this on our ninth lesson. So the ninth lesson in the health class for the Faithful Families curriculum, we teach the lesson, but we also give out certificates and provide a meal to participants. And we also open it up to the congregation so they can invite their friends and family to see them receive certificates. Let's talk a little bit about sustaining partnerships. Here in Chicago, we focus on two areas relative to sustaining partnerships. One, we focus on strengthening relationships and building capacity. We've created a process that allows us to continue working with faith leaders and health and lay leaders to build their capacity for health promotion. We also focus on implementing environmental changes. So we collaborate with the faith leaders and our partners to implement institutional environmental changes that can be sustained by lay leaders. Here's something I put together to sort of make it easier to explain and make our process a little more comprehensible for this webinar. As you can see by looking at this chart, we drive this process, but this process is really meant to help us strengthen the relationships that we've established with our faith and health and lay leaders, at the same time build their capacity to do health promotion. So we work with the faith leaders because the faith leaders are the decision makers and it's easier to plan with them. We work with the health and lay leaders because they are the implementers and it's easier to access and work with them on a more consistent and daily basis. If you look at the levels, you see one is an institutional level and then you see the multi-institutional level. On the institutional level, this is when we're working with each institution, each leader individually. This is when we're going to the church for meetings. We're training lay leaders on site. We're talking with them individually in working in their institutions. Our team has limited staff capacity, so we're not able to reach everybody if we stay on the institutional level. So we created a multi-institutional level where our faith leader now are grouped in what we call a Faith Leaders Advisory Committee. And our health and lay leaders are now grouped in what we call our Health Leaders Network. This gives us a chance to work with multiple faith leaders at the same time and plan with multiple faith leaders at the same time and work with health leaders and lay leaders at the same time. We can do trainings, workshops, and all kind of things by using trainer models through our Health Leaders Network. All this feeds into health promotion that we hope will impact congregants, faith institutions, and the communities. Here you will see the specific focus areas and the objectives we have for our Faith Leaders Advisory Committee. Again, this is about building and strengthening the relationships we have with faith leaders collectively. This is also about working with them to plan health promotions for health promotions within their congregations and in their communities. We get a chance to collaborate with them to discuss additional resources that we may go after for health promotion. Right now, we actually have an opportunity to write a grant to get additional resources for health for faith communities here in Chicago. We intend to work with our Faith Leaders Advisory Committee to help out with that process. And then this allows us to help strengthen the relationship between the faith leader and the health and lay leaders in their faith institution. It is more important to us that faith leaders and health leaders are working together than it is that they are working with us, because their relationship and their connection is going to be more sustainable and more vital in terms of how their institution is impacted. Our Health Leaders Network has some similar objectives, but it's also a very unique way of working with health leaders as well. We want to build and strengthen the relationships that we have with the health leaders in faith institutions, but in this group, we want to implement health-related activities in partnership with them. So unlike with the Faith Leaders Advisory Committee, where we're planning more, this group, we are doing more trainings and workshops because we want to work with them to implement health programming within their institutions. We also provide resources to this group in various ways. So we learn from them the type of things that they want to do, and that sort of drives the things that we want to do in terms of going after resources that will support their work and their interests. We also work with them to strengthen their relationships with their faith leaders. Again, it is important to us that the faith leaders and the health leaders in these institutions work together and work well together. We also use environmental change strategies to sustain partnerships. Here is something that we call heal stations. A heal station is a dedicated space in a faith institution for health promotions. So we work with faith leaders or our Faith Leaders Advisory Committee to plan the heal station efforts. They identify spaces in their church that they want to dedicate. They think about who they want to manage the heal stations. And then we move to working with our health leader, lay leaders, or our lay leaders, health leaders network to implement the heal station and to maintain the heal station. So our team goes out, meets with the health leader, and we set up the space. We train them on how to manage it. We give them a water dispenser so they can serve fresh water at the heal station. The reason we put the water dispenser there is because for us, we wanted to activate the station and give people a reason to go to the station. So we train them to prepare infused water as a way of increasing access to water and encouraging people to drink more water. But at the same time, while they're getting the water, they get a chance to review the materials and healthy recipes and materials that we have at the heal station. We also encourage lay leaders and health leaders to have activities at the heal station that are health related. Some of this we encourage, and we go out to churches sometime and do cooking demos. We have something now that we call Move of the Month, where we'll be doing physical activity examples at hill stations. But we also encourage them to think of things that they can do without us on their own at the hill station to remind people that health and wellness is a priority in their institution. Since I brought up the water dispenser that goes on the hill station, for us, the water dispenser could be placed anywhere in the church. We encourage them to place it at the hill station because we think it kills two birds with one stone. But they can actually put this water dispenser anywhere in their church and in their sanctuary. Uh, we prepare a water safety and preparation guideline booklet that we give to them. This booklet shares with them the benefits of drinking water. It teaches them how to prepare infused water, and we give them suggested ingredients. And we also give them tips on water safety, how to serve water in public spaces, how to store it so that no one is putting anything in the water. And then we have them sign what we call a Hill Station overview. This is similar to our partnership agreement, but it just simply, again, outlines the roles and responsibilities of all parties involved. It gives a idea of what it takes to maintain this Hill Station, and everybody's committed to making sure that this space is kept nice and neat, and that the water that is provided there is safe and desirable to drink for people who want infused water. So we're pretty close to the end of our presentation. I hope this has been helpful, but before we end, I want to review a few key points with you. Remember, you want to develop a plan to identify partnerships. You want to participate in faith events on a macro and micro level to establish those partnerships. So don't forget to use your Google engines, tap into your existing network of friends and community organizations. If you're someone that has never worked with the faith community, you don't have any faith relationships, don't feel like you have to get out there and do cold calling and knock on doors. You are a public health professional. There are people in your community that have existing relationships with the faith communities and with faith leaders. If you can, the more you can collaborate and work with community stakeholders to learn about your faith community, the easier it's going to be for you to come up with a strategy and a plan to work with your faith community. Always remember to establish common goals to increase opportunities for collaboration. As we know, people are going to be most motivated about working on things that they feel aligns with their goals and objectives. So if you can identify those areas, the more you're going to have success in terms of getting things done with your faith partners. Don't forget to establish your partnership agreements and clearly define everybody's role and responsibilities. This is very, very, very key. When people have a roadmap to success, they tend to reach their destinations safely. Don't forget to create excitement around the idea of health promotion. We want people to be motivated about their health. We want people to be excited about their health. People are going to do more when they're excited and motivated than when they feel obligated or like it's a chore. So the more you can create excitement, do food tasting, have health events, make people feel special, and connect that to health, the more people are going to want to participate, the more people are going to be engaged, and the more success you're going to have. And lastly, work collaboratively with partners to implement environmental changes that are sustainable. Most faith leaders and health leaders in faith institutions are action oriented. They want to do something. We in public health can get caught up sometime in evidence based models, social ecological models, and research. But when you start working with health leaders and faith leaders, they want to know, what are we going to do? Once you convince them that this is an issue we need to deal with, we need to do health programming in the faith institution, and they're excited, they're not going to, in most cases, want to read the latest public health research or publication. They're going to want to do something. So, coming up with environmental changes that they can do in their church that are sustainable and can be maintained by them is a great way of keeping them engaged, giving them something to do while building on the relationship and partnership that you have established with them over this process. So thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for the work that you do. I'll end by saying I have entered into this work as a community practitioner. As a local pastor on the west side of Chicago, I saw personally how my community was being impacted by obesity. I also saw how it impacted my family. So my interest in the work was not did not come from a research paper that I read. It was because I was personally impacted, and the people that I loved in my congregation and in my family was impacted. When I started working in public health, I was amazed at all of the barriers and challenges connected to creating changes in communities and creating healthier environments for people. I was so amazed that I have committed the last 15 years of my life to doing community level projects to implement changes in communities that help people live healthier lives. So today has been an honor to be able to share some of the work that we've done here in Chicago. And my prayer is that what we share today will help you as you engage faith partners in your area and in your community for health promotion. Thank you very much. We'll give it back to Julie, and now we can entertain questions if we have some.
Yeah, thank you so much, Reverend Kenady. Thank you for sharing your personal experiences and all the strategies and tools that your program has developed to really support faith communities over the long term. We do have time for questions, so if you haven't done so already, you can type your questions in the question box on your screen. And I'll give everyone a minute to do that. And in the meantime, I know folks had a question about whether or not this presentation will be available after this webinar. So you will receive a follow-up email with a webinar recording, so you can actually watch and listen to this webinar. And we will also send a PowerPoint presentation along with that. So you have all the resources that we present here too. So as folks are thinking of questions and typing them into the question box, I was just wondering, Reverend Kennedy, can you speak to any of the challenges you might have experienced in talking to or engaging faith communities in work that might take longer in your programs and really supporting them and engaging them around um, programs that reach the broader community, so not just within the congregation, but also outside of the congregation.
Sure. Food culture in faith communities are very significant. People gather around food. There are folks within faith communities that actually are respected because of how well they cook. And so uh, it's very important to understand that people have a relationship with food and with the food culture within their institutions. So if they're not serving healthy meals, and a lot of the churches that we've worked with could use some menu planning because a lot of their meals are not the healthiest for their congregants, but they have a very relationship with that food culture and a history there. And so we have had some resistance when we start talking about um, healthy meals, healthy diets, and healthy foods, and encouraging healthy behaviors. So we have learned that to make sure that people um, understand that we're not telling them what to do or what to change, but we just want to educate them and engage them in a conversation about health. And the more we can get them talking about health, and the more we can get them assessing and thinking about the food culture within their institutions and in their families, the more they can connect the dots and make their own choices as to whether they want to change um, the food culture in their church. A lot of times, we as public health professionals, we get so motivated and excited about telling people what we know, that we forget that it's not about telling them, it's about them understanding and being engaged in receiving what we know. And that is different because sometimes when you're teaching and lecturing people and just telling them, they can resist that. And it's not because they don't feel what you're saying is right or helpful, it is the way you're communicating it. Um, by nature, we as humans are resistant to change. None of us like to be told what to do. So, our process, again, for engaging, for building partnerships, is very much about, getting to know and building a relationship with this community in the way that is our foundation, that we can start to have a deeper conversation with them, not tell them, but a conversation with them about health and the food culture of their institutions.
Okay, thank you. Tammy Vincent had a question about, um, she said that she thought everything was really well thought out, and want to thank you for a great job, the great job that you're doing in Chicago. She really likes the idea of what you did on Sunday to do a discussion or sermon on a healthy note. And her question is just thinking, when do you all meet other than that Sunday?
When she say when do we all meet, I'm assuming she's talking about the when do we engage the congregation again. Um, so the Health Sunday, so before the Health Sunday, we have already met with the faith leader, who is the first person we meet. After we meet with the faith leader, build an effective relationship with the faith leader and understand what his or her vision is or for their ministry, then we work with them to identify the lay leaders or the health leaders in their church. Some churches have health leaders already, some churches don't. The churches that don't, we have to sometimes build the capacity of the health or lay leader that is given to us. The churches that do have health leaders, it's very important that we learn about their existing programs and what they feel about health and how they view health in their institution. So after working with the faith leader and then meeting with the health leader, we then want to introduce whatever it is we want to do to the congregation. That is what motivated us to have a Health Sunday. This is when we sort of talk to the congregation at large about health, and what we want to do. After service, when we give out the free health snacks, congregation members are able to talk to us and sign up for our orientation. Most of the time, that orientation is a Faithful Families class orientation. But the next time we meet with folks, we're meeting with folks at our orientation session. That orientation session usually includes not the entire congregation, but the individuals from the congregation who actually want to participate or attend health classes that we're going to be offering in the church.
Thanks, James. Are there any other questions? Okay, if there are no more questions for Reverend Kenady, I've put our contact information on the slide for you all in case you have any follow-up questions or wanted to clarify anything, or want to just have a more in-depth discussion about anything that Reverend Kenady shared with you all today. Please feel free to contact us and reach out for more information. And again, you'll receive a follow-up email with PowerPoint and the webinar recording once that is available. And it will also be posted on our website, so you can find that in multiple places. Thank you so much, Reverend Kenady, for sharing and your experience and all the amazing things you guys are doing in Chicago.
Well, thank you, and I wanted to thank and say that the Faithful Families curriculum is a vital part of what we do here at Heal, and it is a very, very useful tool here in Chicago and has been a catalyst for change in terms of how we build partnerships with faith community. So to all of the national partners, thank you for being a part of the Faithful Families family. And we are in the same family, and as we address this in our nation and do health promotion around the country, much success to everyone.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week, everyone.